is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
In the headlines, we begin with a major shake-up in the White House. The war in Iran has triggered the first high-profile resignation. The National Counterterrorism Director stepped down in protest, accusing Israel and its allies of misleading the president into war. While Washington faces turmoil, a key ally is drawing a line. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer confirmed U.S. use of UK bases, but insisted Britain is not a co-belligerent in the Iran conflict. Beyond diplomatic strains, the White House is touting military gains. President Trump said the two-week offensive is ahead of schedule. Israel also confirmed 2 top Iranian commanders killed in recent strikes. From the battlefield to Tehran, Iran's parliament speaker is rejecting any Western-led deal. Mohammad Ghalibaf vowed a strong response and dismissed ceasefire talks as path to more conflict. Back home, the Senate has adopted a key resolution. Filipinos facing extradition must first seek protection in local courts. Lawmakers say it safeguards constitutional rights. Meanwhile, the Vice President's legal team is pushing back. Counsel for Sara Duterte said the burden of proof lies with complainants and called the case politically motivated. A Hollywood star chose diplomacy over the Oscars. Sean Penn skipped the ceremony despite a major win to meet President Zelensky in Kiev. And in the NBA, Steve Kerr notched his 600th win as the Golden State Warriors beat the Washington Wizards 125-117, snapping their losing skid. I'm Almar Forsuelo. Newsline World starts now. President Trump's National Counterterrorism Director has resigned over Iran war, becoming the first Trump administration official to quit over the conflict and accusing Israel and its allies of deceiving the president into starting. MJ Mondial reports.
Joe Kent, a former Green Beret and CIA operator, announced his resignation on X, saying he could not, in good conscience, continue in his role. In an accompanying resignation letter addressed directly to U.S. President Donald Trump, made public on X, Kent accused senior Israeli officials and members of the American media of running a disinformation campaign, creating what he called an echo chamber to convince the president that Iran posed an imminent threat and that a swift victory was within reach. He warned the current conflict risks repeating the mistakes of Iraq, where he said similar tactics were used to draw the U.S. in at enormous human cost. The resignation is deeply personal. Kent's wife Shannon, a Navy cryptanalyst, was killed in an ISIS attack in Syria. He invoked her death in his letter, saying that experience made it impossible for him to back a war he believes does not justify American lives. He ended his letter urging Trump to reconsider, telling the president directly that he still had the power to change course. The White House pushed back, with Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt calling Kent's claims that Iran posed no imminent threat to the U.S. is false, saying Trump had compelling evidence Iran was planning to strike first and that the decision was his alone to make. Kent was confirmed by the Senate less than a year ago, following a contentious 6-month battle during which Democratic senators labeled him unqualified and questioned his views. While awaiting confirmation, he served as a senior aide to Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been MJ Mondial, SMNI News.
President Donald Trump has characterized the 2-week offensive against Iran as a necessary excursion to prevent a nuclear catastrophe, claiming the U.S. is now way ahead of schedule as the Persian New Year approaches. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announced the elimination of 2 top Iranian chieftains, urging the Iranian people to celebrate the upcoming festival of fire as Israeli jets strike targets from above. Jane Kudnita has the details.
Trump offered a blunt assessment of the 16-day campaign against the Islamic Republic, framing the conflict as a preemptive journey to strip a tyrannical regime of its nuclear ambitions. The president asserted that the deployment of B-2 stealth bombers was the only thing standing between Tehran and a functional nuclear weapon. Trump claimed that the joint U.S.-Israeli force has effectively neutralized Iran's traditional military branches, leaving the regime's leadership isolated and its defenses shattered.
We took a little bit of a journey, a little bit of an excursion over the last 2 weeks because we thought we had to do something about very bad people that want to have nuclear weapons. We can't allow that. They would have had it. If we didn't send the B-2 bombers in, they would have had it 7 months ago, a couple of weeks after that, and we can't let that happen. So we did a little excursion, and we're way ahead of schedule, as you probably noticed. And we knocked out their Navy, their Air Force, their anti-aircraft equipment, their radar, and their leaders. It's been amazing militarily, but it's something that had to be done. Unfortunately, I say, we don't do it with glee.
In Jerusalem, Netanyahu appeared alongside his top defense and intelligence officials to announce further eliminations, describing two of Iran's most senior surviving figures as top terrorist chieftains, without naming them. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz later identified the two as Ali Larijani, Secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council, and Basij Commander Gholam Reza Soleimani, both killed in overnight airstrikes. Iranian authorities have since confirmed both deaths, along with those of Larijani's son and bodyguards. Larijani is the most senior Iranian official killed since Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei was assassinated on the first day of the offensive, February 28. Meanwhile, Netanyahu addressed Iranian people directly ahead of the Persian New Year or Nowruz and the traditional festival of fire. He suggested that the current strikes on terror operatives at city squares and crossroads are intended to enable the Iranian people to overthrow their oppressors.
In the past 24 hours, we knocked out two of the terrorist chieftains, the top terrorist chieftains of this tyranny. Our aircraft are hitting the terror operatives on the ground, in the crossroads, in the city squares. This is meant to enable the brave people of Iran to celebrate the festival of fire. So celebrate and Happy Nowruz. We're watching from above.
The rhetoric from both leaders suggests a shift from conventional warfare to a decapitation strategy aimed at the remaining IRGC command structure. As the 50,000 U.S. personnel in the region maintain a 24/7 high-tempo operation, the White House maintains that the dismantling of Iran's death industry is nearing completion. However, with the Strait of Hormuz still closed and the new Supreme Leader Mojtaba Khamenei still unaccounted for, the excursion Trump described continues to hold the global economy and regional stability in a state of high-tension suspense. This has been Jane Coniter, Global Citizen Correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
Colombian President Gustavo Petro has issued a stark warning that the world is witnessing the death throes of the oil era amidst escalating global conflicts. During a cabinet meeting on Monday, Petro revealed he personally urged U.S. President Donald Trump to seek a peaceful solution in Iran, warning that the reliance on fossil fuels is actively inviting missiles and firm even the face of the slightest
In a somber address from Bogota, President Gustavo Petro framed the current global instability as a direct consequence of fading fossil fuel economy, drawing parallels to the U.S. intervention in Venezuela earlier this year and the ongoing offensive in Iran. Petro argued that oil extraction has become a magnet for military conflict. The Colombian leader confirmed he has been in direct contact with President Trump, joining the leaders of Brazil and Mexico in advocating for an immediate ceasefire. Petro warned that while a peaceful resolution would cause oil prices to plummet, the alternative is a fiscal and humanitarian disaster that Colombia must prepare for.
Cada vez más difícil sacar menos petróleo. Y además atrás los misiles, ya nos dimos cuenta en todo el mundo, incluido en la experiencia del país vecino. Estamos viendo el estertor del petróleo en medio de las guerras que pueden llevar a la Tercera Guerra Mundial. Entonces, aquí tenemos un peligro, la gasolina.
Petro's comments come as the Middle East remains a tinderbox since the February 28 strikes that killed Ali Khamenei. The effective closure of the Strait of Hormuz has sent global energy markets into a tailspin, referring to the January capture of Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela as a cautionary tale of extractive politics. Petro urged Colombians to understand the necessity of his cautious gasoline pricing policies, framed as a shield against the fiscal disaster haunting oil-dependent nation.
Es nuestra posición un cese inmediato al fuego para hablar, que se puede hablar. Entonces, el precio del petróleo se va a derrumbar si eso pasa. Hoy crece altísimo, por eso hay que tener cuidado con la gasolina, Germán, y los usuarios de gasolina me entenderán que no vamos a llevar a Colombia hacia un desastre fiscal.
As the U.S. continues to target Iran's missile industry and the new leadership under Mojtaba Khamenei remains defiant, Petro's green peace diplomacy faces a steep uphill battle. For the Colombian president, the transition away from oil is no longer just an environmental goal, but a prerequisite for avoiding a global conflagration. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Paul Montemon, SMNI News.
Up next, Iran's parliament speaker is rejecting any Western-led deal. Mohammad Ghalibaf vowed a strong response and dismissed ceasefire talks as a path to more conflict. More news when Newsline World returns.
Madalas ka bang napapasobra sa pag-scroll sa phone mo kahit puro masasamang balita ang nakikita mo? Isipin mo ito. Nakahiga ka na sa kama, nagche-check lang ng phone bago matulog. Tapos, hindi mo na malayan, ilang oras ka na palang nagbabasa at nanonood ng mga balita tungkol sa digmaan, sakuna, politika at lahat ng masasamang nangyayari sa mundo. Nakakaramdam ka na ng kaba at pagod. Pero tuloy mo pa rin ang scroll mo. Ang tawag dyan ay doom scrolling. Ito ang habit ng paulit-ulit na pagtingin sa mga negatibo o nakaka-depress na content tulad ng digmaan, krimen o problema sa mundo. Nakaka-stress pero hindi mo pa rin mapigilan. Ayon sa isang pag-aaral ng Texas Tech University, ang sobrang konsumo ng masasamang balita ay nauugnay sa pagtaas ng stress, anxiety at pisikal na sintomas gaya ng pagkapagod at sakit ng ulo. Ayon naman sa Harvard Health, ang doom scrolling ay nagpapataas ng fight or flight hormones tulad ng cortisol at adrenaline na nakakapagpabigat ng isip at katawan. Nakakaapekto ito sa iyong mood, tulog at maging sa mental at physical health mo. At kapag naman puro memes at random na content ang pinapanood mo ng sunod-sunod hanggang sa mawalan ka na ng gana na mag-isip at gumawa ng iba pang gawain, ang tawag naman dyan ay brain rot. Sa Gen Z at tinatawag na internet culture, ang brain rot ay overconsumption o sobrang tagal na panonood ng paulit-ulit, mababaw, magulo o walang saysay na content online hanggang sa parang manhid na ang utak mo. Kapag nasobrahan, syempre, nakakasama. Nawawalan ka na ng focus, nawawala ang motivation, hirap mag-isip ng malalim, parang lutang o foggy ang utak. Masaya sa simula, pero kapag sobra, napapagod ang isip mo. Nahihirapang mag-concentrate at parang lutang. Mas delikado pa ito sa mga bata dahil ang utak nila ay nasa proseso pa ng pag-develop. Kaya mas malakas ang epekto ng doom scrolling at brain rot sa kanila. Maaaring makaapekto sa pag-aaral, pag-iisip at pakikitungo sa iba. Ang higit sa 4 na oras ng screen time araw-araw sa mga kabataan ay konektado sa 35 to 88% na mas mataas na posibilidad ng depresyon, anxiety at stress. Base ito sa isang malawakang pag-aaral sa Brazil. Kaya, maging balanse. Magpahinga sa screen, magbasa, makipagkwentuhan, magdasal, maging present lagi. Alagaan ang iyong isipan. Kung anong itinatanim sa isipan mo, yun ang lalago.
British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has acknowledged the US is using UK military bases but drawing a firm line, saying Britain is not a co-belligerent in the Iran war. This report. Speaking in a video address from London, Starmer was direct about what the UK is and is not doing.
But we're not joining the war. We are allowing the US to use our bases, but again for defensive, collective self-defense. We've got about 300,000 British nationals in the Gulf region, and it's important that we protect them and our Gulf allies. So we have got the RAF in particular flying aeroplanes across the region. They're actually intercepting strikes to stop them hitting people and buildings, so that's defensive action.
Starmer confirmed that several UK military bases in the Middle East have been targeted by Iran and said Britain had pre-positioned air defense assets before the conflict began.
In order to protect them, we had already pre-deployed anti-drone capability, radar capability. We already had our planes there, RAF pilots. We put more of those into the region. And from about an hour or two after the conflict started, they've been working 24/7 in the skies, taking out the incoming strikes from Iran, which is protecting our bases and our people in those bases.
The remarks come as RAF Fairford hosted several U.S. aircraft, including C-130, J Super Hercules transport planes, and long-range B-1B Lancer bombers. Starmer's address also appeared to be a direct response to Trump, who earlier said he was disappointed in the British Prime Minister, claiming Starmer had offered to send aircraft carriers only after the initial battle was won, and declaring he was dealing with someone who was, in his words, no Churchill.
And, unfortunately, Keir is not Winston Churchill.
The U.S.-Israeli strikes on Iran began February 28th. Tehran responded with missile and drone attacks on Israeli and U.S. assets across the region before the conflict widened to include Hezbollah strikes across the Lebanon border. The Strait of Hormuz, handling a fifth of global oil traffic, has since been effectively closed, sending energy prices surging worldwide. The Speaker of the Iranian Parliament, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, has issued a stern warning to Washington and Tel Aviv, rejecting any ceasefire that leads to a repeated cycle of conflict. In a televised interview from Tehran on Tuesday, Ghalibaf asserted that Iran's military response will be decisive and firm, even if the face of the slightest outside aggression. Prince Tripoli tells us more.
As Operation Epic Fury enters its third week, the political leadership in Tehran is projecting an image of unyielding defiance. Speaking on state television, Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf made it clear that the Islamic Republic has moved past the diplomatic constraints of previous conflicts. Referring to the 12-day war of last year, Ghalibaf claimed that while Iran previously accepted a ceasefire at the request of its enemies, the current situation demands a finality that breaks the vicious cycle of repeated strikes on Iranian soil.
ما دنبال جنگ نیستیم. این رو بدونیم، این روشن. ولی دفاع جانا نمی کنیم. تو دهنی محکم میزنیم. پاسخ محکم میدیم. تو این ذره من خیلی روشن و شفاف به رژیم صهیونیستی بگم، به آمریکا هم بگم، ما هرگز در این جنگ مثل جنگ 12 روزه که توقف آتش رو بعد از اصرار اونها، بعد از خواست اونها.
Ghalibaf specifically targeted the United States, accusing Washington of initiating the current hostilities less than 10 months after the previous conflict ended. He emphasized that the cycle of repeated war is no longer acceptable to the Tehran and that any future security arrangement must involve the total removal of threats against the Republic. Despite the heavy toll of the conflict, with Iranian casualties now reported at over 1,400, Ghalibaf maintained that Iran's goal is to establish regional security by proving that aggression carries an unbearable price.
لذا اینکه عرضم بزرگ شما یک آتش بس بشه، دو مرتبه 5 ماه دیگه برن یه جنگ دیگه بخوان راه بندازن، چنین چیزی نیست. باز گفتم ما دنبال ادامه جنگ هم نیستیم بگیم ما جنگ می‌خوایم بکنیم، نمیدونم امنیت منطقه رو می‌خوایم به هم بزنیم، اصلا ما میخوایم امنیت در منطقه برقرار بشه که دو مرتبه اینا این رو تکرارش نکنن.
The speaker's rhetoric mirrors the hardline stance of the new supreme leader Mojtaba Khamenei and Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, both of whom have tied the opening of the Strait of Hormuz to the withdrawal of the U.S. forces. With 20% of global oil traffic still halted and Israel expanding ground operations in Lebanon, Galibaf's message serves as a reminder that Tehran views this not as a localized skirmish, but as a fight to permanently shift the regional balance of power. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Prince Tripoli, SMN News.
A fire broke out in a high-rise building in Manhattan, sending smoke billowing across Midtown just as crowds gathered near the route of the St. Patrick's Day Parade. Emergency crews rushed to the scene after flames were reported inside the multi-story building, prompting a swift response from firefighters. Authorities moved quickly to secure the area, with some nearby streets temporarily closed as firefighters worked to contain the blaze. The incident occurred close to the parade route, raising concerns among spectators and participants as large crowds filled the surrounding streets. Officials have not yet confirmed the cause of the fire or reported any injuries, but investigations are expected to follow. Despite the disruption, organizers say safety measures remain in place as the annual celebration continues under close monitoring. For the sixth time in 18 months, the entire island of Cuba has been left without power following a total disconnection of the national electric system. The collapse, which occurred on Monday, comes as the nation struggles to survive under a U.S.-imposed energy blockade that has effectively cut off all oil shipments to the island for over 3 months. Joy Tabana has the story.
Havana was a city of shadows on Monday night as the Cuban electric grid suffered a catastrophic failure. The Ministry of Energy and Mines reported a complete system collapse at approximately 1:40 p.m. local time, leaving 11 million people in total darkness. On the Malecon, the only light came from car headlights as residents gathered to escape the stifling heat of homes without fans or refrigeration. The collapse is a direct result of a perfect storm, according to President Miguel Diaz-Canel. Cuba hasn't received a major oil shipment in over 90 days. This follows Trump's January executive order threatening heavy tariffs on any nation, specifically targeting Mexico and former supplier Venezuela, that continues to provide fuel to the island. For street vendors, the blackout is a death knell for business. The government has been forced to postpone tens of thousands of surgeries and move over 100 bakeries to firewood and coal just to provide bread to the population. While the ministry claims that microsystems are being restarted in the provinces, experts warn that the grid, built on obsolete Soviet-era technology, is way past its useful life and may take days to fully synchronize. Despite the mounting protests and a weekend bonfire at a Communist Party office in Moron, there may be a sliver of diplomatic hope. Diaz-Canel confirmed on Friday that discreet talks have begun with Washington to find a solution to the energy blockade. As Cuba operates on the fumes of natural gas and solar power, the world is watching to see if these negotiations will bring the lights back on or if the island is heading toward a total humanitarian collapse. This has been Joy Tabanaw, your global citizen correspondent reporting for Newsline World.
2 Filipinos in the United Arab Emirates have been arrested after allegedly posting a video of a recent missile attack in the country. The Philippine Embassy in Abu Dhabi says it immediately reached out to UAE authorities to verify the details of the incident, including the identities and whereabouts of the 2 Filipinos. The embassy confirmed that both individuals are OFWs currently working in the UAE. It has also contacted the families of the 2 workers to provide updates and support regarding the case. The embassy is extending legal assistance through its retained legal counsel and has filed a request for a consular visit to the detained Filipinos pending approval from UAE authorities. For now, the embassy is withholding further details about the case and the identities of those involved out of respect for the family's wishes and in light of the ongoing investigation. Filipinos in the UAE are once again being reminded to strictly comply with local laws, particularly when it comes to posting photos, videos, and other online content related to the current situation in the region. When we return, the Philippine Senate has adopted a key resolution. Filipinos facing extradition must first seek protection in local courts. Lawmakers say it safeguards constitutional rights. The Vice President's legal team is pushing back. Counsel for Sara Duterte said the burden of proof lies with complainants and called the case politically motivated. More news after the break.
Isang pindot lang, pwede kang maka-jackpot. Mukhang masaya at easy money lang. Sa murang halaga, pwede ka na tumaya sa online gambling at e-casino apps. Mayroong sabong, slot machines, mahjong, poker at iba pa. Kailangan mo lang ng smartphone, e-wallet at internet. Pero ang aliw na ito, unti-unting nagiging bitag para sa mga Pilipino. Lalo na kung ang paborito mong artista o influencer ang mukha ng app. Mas madaling makaengganyo, diba? Parang safe naman kasi may kilalang mukha. Pero sa likod ng ngiti, sugal pa rin ang itinutulak. At syempre, mas madali ring itago ang pagkalulong sa bisyong ito. Walang pisikal na kasino o pasugalan. Walang kaharap, walang accountability, kaya't mas lumalala ang adiksyon. Dagdag pa rito, maraming online gambling apps at walang regulasyon. Sa likod ng mga makukulay na interface at papremyo, nakatago ang problemang bumabalot ngayon sa bansa. Ang pagkalulong ng maraming Pilipino sa online gambling. Pwede maglaro kahit saan, kahit kailan, kahit sino, bata man o matanda, pwedeng malulong. Ayon sa mga eksperto, ang pagkakalulong sa online gambling ay nagdudulot ng matinding stress at anxiety, pagkakabaon sa utang, pagkawasak ng pamilya, pagkawala ng tiwala sa sarili. At tulad ng ibang bisyo, may mga senyales ito tulad ng hindi makapagpigil kahit walang pera, palihim na tumataya, pagpapabaya sa trabaho, pamilya o sarili. Sa bawat taya, may mga taong tunay na kumikita, mga malalaking negosyante at investors na negosyo ang bisyo ng masa. Para sa kanila, perang pumapasok lang ito. Pero para sa ordinaryong Pilipino, kabuhayan at relasyon ang nauubos. At ang masakit, tila matagal itong nahayaan. Hindi ito naging prioridad ng mga nakaupo sa taas hanggang sa sobrang lumala at halos naapektuhan na ang buong komunidad. Ngayon, sa dami ng nalulung at sa laki ng pinsalang naidulot, sa kapalalong umugong ang mga panukalang batas para higpitan ng online gambling, gaya ng pagbabawal sa paggamit ng e-wallets para tumaya, pagtaas ng minimum bet, mas mahigpit na identity verification, pag-block ng mga illegal na gambling sites, at bawasan o ipagbawal ang mga ads na target ang kabataan. Maaari itong magmukhang laro lang, pero sa katotohanan, isa itong sugal sa kinabukasan. Ang kita na dapat sa mga pangunahing pangangailangan o ipon na uubos sa sugal. At sa mundo ng online gambling, mas madali kang matalo kaysa manalo. Huwag hayaang sugal ang magdikta sa iyong buhay. Isang paalala mula sa SMNI.
The Philippine government is pressing ahead with the repatriation of overseas Filipino workers affected by the conflict in the Middle East, with authorities saying thousands more are expected to return in the coming days. Prince Tripoli reports.
At a press briefing, OWA Administrator Patricia Yvonne Kaunan said the number of repatriated OFWs is now approaching 1,200, including those from Iran.
If we add that to the DMW OWA combined repatriation, we're already at close to 1,200, no? Because may mga parating pong flights today, 6 na flights today. And we're expecting by the end of the week or start of next week, Sunday, after our planned repatriation, we're already going to close the week or start next week at around 2,000 government-sponsored repatriation. And that's around the number also of the request for repatriation that we have confirmed.
6 flights are carrying more than 75 repatriates today from various locations, including Bahrain. The government is using both commercial and chartered flights for the operations. OWA clarified that undocumented OFWs are also being assisted, particularly those in the United Arab Emirates. Department of Migrant Workers Secretary Hans Layukakdak assured that the safety of OFWs throughout the repatriation process remains the government's top priority.
Yung huli kong sinabi about the security assessment, yes, everything is, remember, yung unang pahayag ng Pangulo mula pa nung unang araw nitong sigalot is safety and security. Kaya't magmula noon, in compliance with the President's orders, we are well aligned with the Secretary Gibo Teodoro and the Department of National Defense.
The DMW says personnel are now deployed at border crossings, ensuring OFWs are accompanied and accounted for from departure until they safely arrive in the Philippines.
And as mentioned, again, for the sake of being repetitive, our OFWs have obviously arrived to our country, back to our country by air, by plane, and in the designated countries na kung saan sila lilipad o tatawid muna. And in the case of the UAE, as you know, yung charter flight na dumating nung Sabado through the UAE yun itself.
The government is calling on OFWs to reach out to their nearest embassy or consulate for swift assistance and safe repatriation. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Prince Tripoli, SMNI News.
The Philippine Senate has adopted a resolution aimed at ensuring Filipinos facing extradition are first given the chance to seek legal protection through local courts. Faith Agustin for the details.
Senate Resolution number 307, filed by Minority Leader Alan Peter Cayetano, was adopted on March 17th. Its purpose is to protect the rights of Filipinos who are arrested to be taken outside the country. Under its provisions, any Filipino must be allowed to approach a local court before being extradited. Cayetano stressed that due process in accordance with the Constitution must be ensured. The resolution was filed in the wake of International Criminal Court or ICC proceedings against former President Rodrigo Duterte. Senators Bongo and Bato de la Rosa are also named in connection with the ICC case. In the amendments, the term extraordinary rendition was replaced with extrajudicial rendition to avoid the negative connotation of the previous term. The resolution emphasizes that even those accused of serious crimes abroad must undergo legal processes within the Philippines. 3 senators voted against the resolution: Kiko Pangilinan, Bam Aquino, and Risa Hontiveros. Cayetano says the measure is intended to serve as a lasting protection for all Filipinos, not only in the present case. This has been Faith Agustin, your citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
Former DPWH Undersecretary Roberto Bernardo admitted before the court that he received millions of pesos in balato or kickbacks from the 2023 to 2025. The funds allegedly originated from anomalous flood control projects linked to former Congressman Zaldico. Kai Villan has the full report.
Former DPWH Undersecretary Roberto Bernardo was seen wiping away tears after testifying at a hearing in the Sandigan Bayan. This is in connection with the malversation of public funds case filed against a former Congressman Zaldico, Gerald Pacanen, and other DPWH officials. While the congressman remains at large, his co-accused attended the trial. In his testimony, Bernardo admitted to receiving millions in balato or kickbacks from Zaldico, which he referred to as a token of gratitude. He also expressed fear of being removed from his position if he refused the money, noting Co's influence as the chairman of the Appropriations Committee at the time. Bernardo confirmed receiving the following amounts from former District Engineer Henry Alcantara: 40 million pesos in 2023, 40 million pesos in 2024, and 20 million pesos in 2025. According According to Bernardo Alcantara, it stated that these percentages came from Saldico. Additionally, he admitted to receiving 10 million pesos annually from former Regional Director Gerald Pacanen. Bernardo clarified that he did not collect the money from Pacanen directly. Instead, his driver Isko and his aide Virgel Nino Garcia received the funds on his behalf. The camp of Gerald Pacanen strongly opposed Bernardo's testimony. Their lawyer, Attorney Manlastas, argued the following. First, that the testimony is irrelevant because specific contract IDs of the projects involved were not mentioned. Second, that the witness should not be accepted because Zaldico is a fugitive from justice and is not yet under the court's jurisdiction. Despite the objections, the court allowed Bernardo to proceed with his testimony. The court also warned both parties to submit proper evidence, noting that lawyers who fail to comply with hearing requirements could be held in contempt. Finally, Bernardo clarified that it was his own decision to stand as a witness under the Witness Protection Program. Reporting for Newsline World, Kai Villan, SMNI News.
Senate Pro Tempore Ping Lacson is ready to present before the Blue Ribbon Committee the Brave 18 who served as security personnel of Zaldico. However, according to the senator, their lawyer Levi Baligod appears to have no interest in coordinating. Naomi Perez reports.
Walang effort na makipag-usap.
This was the statement of Senate Pro Tempore Ping Lacson against Attorney Levi Baligod. Baligod is the lawyer of the Brave 18 who exposed alleged irregularities in flood control projects. Lacson said he is willing to speak with the lawyer, but Baligod has yet to reach out. The senator wants to clarify the content of the witnesses' affidavits before presenting them at the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee hearing.
Parang do the math. At tingnan natin kung physically possible, no? Logistically possible, edi pag-usapan natin at iisa lang natin. Ayoko lang iniwasan ko yung mag-hearing ka, mauwi lang sa contempt. Alam mo, wala naman kami lugar dito, 18 yung itukulong mo.
According to Lacson, it will be difficult to summon the former security personnel of Zaldico if their testimonies do not align with the truth. Aside from the Brave 18, former Ilocos Sur Governor Chavit Singson is also reportedly willing to testify regarding the flood control scandal. There will be no vetting of Singson's statement as Lacson did not require him to submit an affidavit.
Tama na sa akin, ang itetestify niya relevant do sa inimbestigahan ng Blue Ribbon.
The Blue Ribbon Committee is expected to hold its next hearing on the flood control scandal on April 14th or possibly earlier. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Naomi Perez, SMNI News.
Vice President Sara Duterte's defense team is pushing back against claims by Representative Terry Ridon that their answer to the impeachment complaints failed to address the allegations, saying it is the complainants who have failed to make their case. Jason Rubrico reports.
The impeachment complaints against Vice President Sara Duterte should already be dismissed. This was asserted by Vice President Sara Duterte in her answer ad katalem submitted to the House Committee on Justice. According to the defense, the current complaints are no different from the one filed in 2025, which the Supreme Court declared unconstitutional. The defense also added that the allegations are recycled and lack ultimate facts, meaning they contain no concrete details of wrongdoing. Defense team spokesperson Attorney Michael Poe says it is difficult to respond to the allegations due to the lack of details.
Nung ginagawa natin ng sagot ng Vice Presidente, napakahirap para sa kanya na sumagot dahil wala namang concrete and cohesive recital of facts para sabihin na meron siyang naging pagkakamali o pagkasala that it will rise to the level of an impeachable offense.
The camp also insisted that the Vice President's due process was violated. POA pointed to what he described as a double standard in how complaints against the President and the Vice President have been handled.
Ang sabi lang natin na paglabag ng due process ay pag meron kang standard pero iba yung standard na inimpose mo doon sa mga complaints laban sa Pangulo at iba rin ang inimpose mo laban sa Vice Presidente o ikalawang Pangulo. So doon po nang naggaling yung argument natin na may paglabag sa due process kasi tila sa pananaw namin, nagkaroon ng double standards po dito sa determination ng sufficiency of form and substance pagdating sa dalawang opisyal.
The defense also said that in previous hearings, serious complaints against other high-ranking officials were quickly set aside. The defense team also questioned the credibility of Ramil Madriaga's affidavit due to the alleged lack of supporting evidence.
Titingnan natin yung affidavit niya, talagang unsubstantiated po yung mga claims niya, no? Wala pong mga attachments, walang kahit ano nagpapatunay doon sa mga naging pahayag niya at salaysay niya sa kanyang affidavit.
On reports of threats against Madriaga's life, the defense said they also want to ensure his safety so he can undergo cross-examination.
At tayo naman din po, gusto din naman natin na sana ay safe noon lahat ng tao, including si Mr. Madriaga. Lalong-lalo na gusto po nating makross-examine kung ito ay magtuloy-tuloy sa Senado, gusto po nating makross-examine si Mr. Madriaga para po mapatunayan namin na wala pong katotohanan yung mga sinasabi niya laban sa Vice Presidente sa kanyang affidavit.
Despite this, Representative Terry Ridon maintained that the Vice President's camp has yet to answer the allegations in the impeachment complaints. The defense, however, says their position is clear that the complainants have failed to establish a solid case against VP Sara.
Respeto pa rin po natin ang opinion ng lahat ng ating mga lawmakers at bumubuo ng Kamara Representante. Pero yun po ang pananaw namin na bigo po silang matukoy kung ano ba talaga yung ginawa niyang mga mali o mga acts na sabing naging impeachable offense na ang mga ito.
Reporting for Newsline World, I am Jason Rubrico, SM9 News.
A political party is reviving the push for federalism in the Philippines, known as Partido ng Federalismo ng Dugong Dakilang Samahan or PDDS. They argue that the system will drive regional development and make it easier to hold corrupt officials accountable. This report. The Partido ng Federalismo ng Dugong Dakilang Samahan or PDDS is renewing its call for a federal form of government in the country. In an interview with SMNI News, former Misamis Occidental Congressman Diego T. said the system is more suitable for the Philippines.
Kasi namin, ang federalism, kung nag-federalism tayo, baka nawala na yung flood control. Pati ang federalism, hiwa-hiwalay. Para bang sa Amerika ba, may state. So, hindi nakacentralize sa isang presidente lang. So bawat region or bawat state kung gaano man pag-divide ng federalism, may sarili silang gobyerno, may sariling diskarte, may sariling tourism officer, may sariling tawag niyan, governor ba ang tawag, pwede or state. May representation din sa Senate. So hindi tulad ngayon na karamihan ng mga senador taga Luzon. Ito, wala sigurong taga-Visayas.
Federalism was among the advocacies of former President Rodrigo Duterte, aimed at empowering provinces to control their own revenues and natural resources. Under the proposed system, each region would have its own government, laws, and police force, as well as its own representation in Congress.
Yes, decentralized. Ma-decentralize siya. Hindi lang sa LGU, kundi sa buong region. So, halimbawa, may corrupt na senador, madali mong mahuli. Kasi ang nanakawin niya, ang pera ng state, hindi pera ng national government. Pag pera kasi ng national, mahirap po na hapulin yan. Ilang hearing nang nangyayari.
The group acknowledges that the transition to a federal system will not be easy. However, they believe that it can be achieved with the support of allies and the public.
With kung manalo ang ating presidente na magustuhan din ang federalism, kung merong representante from lower house and upper house, so madali na siguro may pasa with the connivance of lower house, Senate and the President, so madali nang maipasa kung anumang legislative agenda ang gusto mangyari ng PDDS, no?
Beyond federalism, the PDDS also aims to continue the programs of the Duterte administration, including the campaign against illegal drugs and corruption.
Ang legislative agenda natin, pagpatuloy yung naumpisa, yung anti-corruption ni Chairman, di ba? Yung illegal drugs. Ganda sana ng peace and order natin dati, pero ngayon, kung makikita mo sa amin, sa Misamis Occidental, bumabalik na rin. Dami na rin nahuhuli almost every week. Merong mga pusher, may mga user pa rin. Ang galit ng tao, ang makakapanalo kay Sara Duterte, ang galit ng tao, ang posibleng may representante na ang PDDS.
The group is currently searching for candidates who will support their advocacy in the upcoming elections.
Hindi yan matutuloy kung walang representation na magpapasa ng aming mga plano, legislative agenda. So, isa sa purpose ng PDDS, maghanap din kami ng candidates for local and national sa party list, sa Senate, sa Congress. So, maghanap din ng potential, winnable, and able kandidato.
The PDDS is led by Greco Belica, who previously headed the Presidential Anti-Corruption Commission under the Duterte administration. Federalism remains a highly debated proposal in the Philippines, with the supporters viewing it as a pathway to regional empowerment and critics raising concerns over its implementation and impact. The group behind the Inday Sara Duterte 2028 movement is calling on Filipinos to attend a large-scale rally in Davao City on May 9th, marking the event as an advance victory party for the Vice President. MJ Modihar has the story.
Mayroon tayong gaganapin na grand rally sa Davao, sa Rizal Park, mga 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
The Inday Sara 2028 movement is urging the public to join a mass rally in Davao City on May 9. Founder and former GAB Commissioner Marma Sangid says the event is an advanced victory party for Vice President Sara Duterte. The group considers her already victorious, pointing to her early declaration of candidacy for the 2028 presidential race.
Lahat ng taga Mindanao at Visayas, mayroon man taga Luzon na pupunta sa Davao.
Recently, VP Sara greeted the group in Davao City. Meanwhile, Masangid mentioned that their group went around Metro Manila to gauge the sentiment of those in the NCR. According to him, they witnessed many who are dismayed with the current administration.
Kasi kahapon nandun kami sa Valenzuela at iba pang mga lugar. Ang mga tao doon talagang hindi lang nagtampo sa administrasyon, hindi lang nagtampo kay BBM, kundi talagang galit na galit. So, ang akala ko, Mindanao lang ang medyo 80% si BP Inday, pati sa Visayas. Dito pa rin sa Luzon, halos dito mga 75% ang tutulong kay BP Inday.
Various personalities and politicians supporting VP Sara are expected to flock the upcoming May 9 rally. The group believes that leaders who will switch sides and support the Vice President's candidacy will soon emerge.
Kay BP Inday kami, kailangan tayo ay magtulungan tayo para matuloy yung inyong sinasabi na BP Inday talagang para presidente sa ating bansang Pilipinas pagdating ng 2028. Sigurado na yan. Finish na yan. Wala nang problema dyan.
Reporting for Newsline World, this has been MJ Mondihar, SMNA News.
Up next, a Hollywood star chose diplomacy over the Oscars. Sean Penn skipped the ceremony despite a major win to meet President Zelensky in Kiev. And in the NBA, Steve Kerr notched his 600th win as the Golden State Warriors beat the Washington Wizards 125-117, snapping their losing skid. More news when Newsline World returns.
Maging alerto at handa tuwing may bagyo. Upang manatiling ligtas, narito ang ilang mahahalagang paalala. Manatili sa loob ng bahay. Iwasan ang paglabas, lalo na kung malakas ang ulan at hangin. Mag-imbak ng pagkain at malinis na tubig. Maghanda ng emergency kit. Manatiling updated sa lagay ng panahon. Maghanda ng mga flashlight at extra baterya. Panatilihing fully charged ang iyong cellphone. I-secure ang mahahalagang dokumento sa waterproof na lalagyan. Patayin ang kuryente, gas at tubig kung may banta ng pagbaha. Alamin ang iyong local emergency hotlines. Putulin o tapyasan ang mga sanga ng puno na maaaring mabuwal sa malakas na ulan at hangin. Lumikas agad kung inabisuhan ng mga otoridad. Maging ligtas at maging handa sa panahon ng kalamidad. Ang paalalang ito ay hatid sa inyo ng SMNI.
Hollywood actor Sean Penn was notably absent from the Academy Awards despite winning Best Supporting Actor, choosing instead to be in Kiev for a meeting with President Volodymyr Zelensky. Meanwhile, actress Lindsay Lohan has reportedly left Dubai and returned to the United States with her family following a rise in attacks across the Middle East. Andrea Santos has the details.
Sean Penn received the Oscar for his role as Colonel Stephen J. Lockjaw in the film One Battle After Another, but did not attend the ceremony held at the Dolby Theatre. Instead, the actor traveled thousands of miles to Ukraine where he met with Zelensky, continuing a relationship that began following Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. His absence quickly became a talking point during the ceremony, as it underscored Penn's ongoing political and humanitarian support for Ukraine. The move marks yet another instance of the award-winning actor prioritizing his advocacy efforts over a major milestone in his film career. Lindsay Lohan reportedly left Dubai alongside her husband, business Badr Shamas, and their young son, Luai, as concerns over regional security continue to grow. The actress had been residing in Dubai for several years, where she built more private life away from Hollywood. Her decision to relocate comes amid heightened tensions and escalating attacks in parts of the Middle East, prompting safety concerns for residents in the region. While Lohan has not publicly detailed the move, the relocation underscores how the ongoing situation is affecting not only governments but also civilians and public figures. No further details have been released regarding how long the family plans to stay in the United States. And that's all for now. I'm Andrea Santos, bringing you the latest showbuzz.
In NBA, Steve Kerr notched his 600th career victory as the Golden State Warriors defeated the Washington Wizards 125-117, ending their losing skid and extending Washington's slump. Meanwhile, Morocco national football team has been officially declared champions of the Confederation of African Football, overturned the final result involving Senegal football team. Here are the latest updates.
The Golden State Warriors snapped a 5-game losing streak with the win, while handing the Wizards their 12th straight defeat. Kristaps Porzingis led the Warriors with 30 points, while DeAnthony Melton added 27 to power the win. Despite missing key players, including Stephen Curry and Jimmy Butler, the Warriors built a double-digit lead and held off multiple comeback attempts by the Wizards. Trae Young paced Washington with 21 points, but the team extended its losing skid and remains near the bottom of the Eastern Conference standings. Meanwhile, the decision came after CAF ruled the Senegal forfeited the final, awarding Morocco a 3-0 victory following a controversial walk-off during the match. Originally, Senegal had won 1-0 after extra time, with Pape Gueye scoring the final goal, but the match was overshadowed when players left the pitch in protest over a late penalty decision. CAF cited tournament regulations stating that any team that refuses to continue play without the referee's approval automatically forfeits the match, prompting Morocco's successful appeal. The incident began when referee Jean-Jacques Ndala awarded a stoppage time penalty to Morocco, leading to Senegal's temporary walk-off before eventually returning to finish the game. Despite Senegal celebrating the victory at the time, the ruling reverses the outcome and hands Morocco the continental title, with further appeals from Senegal still possible.
And before we end, may you be inspired with the words of the Son. As long as you are sincere in seeking for salvation, the Father will not lead you astray. And that's all for this edition of Newsline World. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, I'm Almar Forsuelo. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.